Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Spooktober Cinema.
Yeah.
This week, Matt's pick,
Transylvania 5000.
the classic comedy from 1985 starring Jeff Goldblum, Ed Begley Jr.,
And the guy from Best in Show.
There's a lot of people in this. I didn't
realize there were that many. Yeah.
Because you had Jeffrey Jones, who everybody remembers as the principal from Ferris Bueller.
Basically, yeah.
And you had Carol Kane.
Yeah, you had Gina Davis.
And her impressive fangs.
Yes.
And
suck the town dry.
and then you had Michael Richards.
Yeah.
Before the racism.
I was going to say before Seinfeld,
yeah.
But you know.
Well, that too.
We do go with the worst of them.
Yeah. And there was a few other names in there too, but
well, yeah. I can't remember her name, but the one that was the wife of the other servant character.
That's Carol Kane.
Is that Carol Kane?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she was in The Jerk. She was in Princess Bride. She was
right.
Yeah. She's been. She was in Scrooged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap!
Been in a lot of stuff. Yeah.
So, this movie is. This movie in itself is a compliment sandwich of sorts, because it starts off okay, because, like, the way it sets it up is so fucking weird. Because they just started off in a newsroom, and it's just like Goldblum's in there and Ed Begley Jr.'s in there, and they're just like, yeah, I'm gonna write one more story. I'm like, oh you right. I'm glad we got your character development out of the way first. But basically, they're being tasked to come up with a title for, like, Frankenstein Lives. That's what the boss says he wants on the title of this news article. He's like, I need stories. He's like, well, all you write is crap. He's like, crap sells. Look around you. Crap. I love crap.
Yeah, the editor, that's Norman Fell.
Okay.
Who was in Three's Company, and he did a bunch of different things.
Oh, yeah,
too.
okay.
But, yeah, Goldblum is this reporter, and he's been partnered up with Ed Begley's character, Gil, who is pretty much the editor's son.
Yeah.
And, like, they watch this video that just looks like two guys just made, like, a home movie of them getting attacked by the Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Because, you know, that's the name of the monster.
And he's like, I want this.
he's like, go to Transylvania and get me a story.
Yeah. So, you know, you just, as you do, you just buy tickets, train tickets, airline tickets, hotel tickets, send them over there. Like, get whatever you need, and we're going to write this story. And I also love the one part, it was like, well, I don't know where Transylvania is. Like, find it.
It's like, over there somewhere.
Yeah, he just points like, it's over that way.
It's somewhat European.
So, then they get to Transylvania, Ed Begley Jr.'s character, just bluntly, they're there for 5 minutes, and he's like, tell me about, any weird things going on around here? And then the guy who's running the hotel that they're at right now, he's like, oh, you want like a prostitute? Yeah. He's like, no. I wanted to, like, anything weird going on. He's like, oh, you know, something kinky, huh? He's like, no, I want to know about Frankenstein. And then, like, they just start passing around and everybody's laughing at him. And, basically, and the mayor's there. That's where they meet the mayor character. Jeffrey Jones is the mayor. And, basically, they get laughed out of the hotel, and the whole time Jeff Goldblum's doing what he'll do for the rest of the movie is hitting on one chick. He's hitting on her. He hears all the laughter. He comes over, and then they basically just leave the hotel because now they're both humiliated.
Yeah.
So then they're going to go to their hotel, which is a castle.
Yeah.
Did the castle have a name? I can't even remember them saying it once, or might have just got thrown around in conversation.
I don't think there was a name for it. It was the Dr.
Malavakwa or something.
It was like his family's like castle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're going to this castle because that's where they're staying.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where we meet Michael Richards' character.
Oh my God.
Which I can't remember his name because, like, he whispers it.
Oh God.
But he is there obviously for the comic relief, but it's like, it's so thick, the comic relief. It's just like taking a spoonful of peanut butter.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of it's funny.
Some of it is funny. Yeah.
Some is, but there's a lot of just like pratfalls and like physical comedy that isn't that funny. I laughed at whenever he's like asking people to smell things.
Yeah,
and he's like
trying to get Ed Begley to smell everything. Yeah. You smell this. Smell this.
He just like picks up he has like all these vials. He's like, cream, smell this.
Yeah.
It's good, huh?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Smell this. He picks up coffee.
Like coffee, the grapefruit.
That was funny.
Yeah.
But the first thing he gets to do, funny wise, is he's got this puppet. He's just making it make weird noises.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's good. And they're like, yeah, okay.
But like the fact that he just like pops up everywhere, and then he does the thing like where he has the fake leg and the fake hand, and like
he gets trapped in the door.
Yeah, there was a lot of like really weird, funny parts, and then there was the part where like he just appears around the corner, and Ed Begley actually looked like he wasn't expecting it at all.
I feel like that was like done. Like they wanted him to do the banana thing, but they didn't like tell him how to start the scene or whatever, and he just did it like that.
Yeah, he just appears around the corner.
But so yeah, his character's there. He doesn't really play a huge role other than just like the butler, who is a comedian essentially.
Yeah.
So they're there. They find the mayor owns the castle as well. Like he lives there as well, and
you get introduced to.
We get introduced to
Radu,
and I can't remember her name.
His wife, played by Carole King.
Yeah. You get introduced to them, and they just call everybody master. That's like their shtick for right now, and that's basically the character development you get at that point in time, because they don't really go too deep into anything, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So Ed Begley Jr.'s character is just like, okay, well, we got our rooms, and I'm gonna go investigate. And then Goldblum's like, okay, I'm gonna go and try and plow this girl.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna hit on the only other American woman in this town.
Yeah. So then Ed Begley Jr., he goes to a cemetery. He goes into like a little mausoleum. He's looking around. And then that's when we're introduced to the chief of police's character. He just walks in. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing in here?" He's like, "Oh, I thought this was the like the Church of the Great Blessed Mother or something."
Yeah.
He's like, "No, it's a mausoleum." He's like, "Oh, I gotta go," and he just leaves.
He just like runs.
But like, while he's in there, there's like a little chandelier thing up on the ceiling, and like it falls and almost hits him, and that's when you start like wondering like what's going on, because you see they briefly show the chief of police, and then that happens, and then they fully introduce him. So then you start getting the idea there's something fishy going on. Well, he runs back. Jeff Goldblum's talking into a phone that looks like a snake.
Yeah, that was the other weird thing with the different phones that they had.
That was like some kind of joke for
lizard.
Yeah,
and the ringtone was the
Transylvania 65000.
Yeah, Pennsylvania 65000 song, like the big band song.
Yeah,
and then like of course with the Transylvania spin is the whole joke behind the title.
Right,
but like the ringtone for the phones is that, and like. Michael Richards was the one that would answer the phone, but he wouldn't answer until it hit that right line, and he could go, Transylvania 65000. Yeah. Just like, oh my God, this is dedication.
Yeah, like they really rammed the joke home with that title. But so he comes back. Jeff Goldblum's on the phone talking to the girl.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole like, oh, you gotta knock first joke with the door, and
very Abbott and Costello like.
Yeah, it was very Abbott Costello like. It ran on for probably 3 more minutes than it should have. Ed Begley Jr. comes in, he's like, oh, like chief of police, he tried to kill me, and he's like, okay, whatever. So then we go to, I guess it was that night when we first see Gina Davis's character, right? Or am I skipping ahead too far?
You skipped I think you might have skipped the gypsy. Because Michael Richards comes in and says that he's got a message for him, and that's
what it was.
And it's a message from a gypsy.
It was just like on a ripped up piece of paper. Yeah. It was like, come see me, madam, whatever.
Yeah.
So they go there, and she's just got like this ball of light glowing in the table, and it's just a light bulb inside of a glass ball, and she basically tells him about this werewolf man.
Mm-hmm.
Gives them a name of who it is and where they can find him. And then she falls asleep by bashing her head through the table.
Yeah, she comes out of her trance, and then like the guy comes in and just brings in another glowing table
in front of them.
Yeah, so this is obviously just played up.
Yeah, so she tells them to go and do that. They go to find a wolf man because they have to find something to report on. And it just turns out to be her husband who's cheating on her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they kind of like this bush is just rocking back and forth and they're just making like these noises.
Yeah.
And it's just like, they shot a flashlight on him. And he's like, "Oh, my wife sent you?" "Who sent you? My wife?" And then it cuts back to them at the hotel, and my favorite line in the movie is like, "I was so humiliated when you shined the flashlight directly on his ass." Like Jeff Goldblum, like he delivered that perfectly.
Yeah, and this is when Gina Davis gets introduced.
So they all go to bed. Wife, and I also thought it was funny that this happened to Bagley's character because you think that should have happened to Goldblum since he was like basically womanizing at this point in time.
Yeah.
But so Ed Begley Jr. sleeping, and then basically like Gina Davis shows up and she looks like a vampire, and you know she's like gonna suck his blood or whatever. And he wakes up. He's like, "Oh, there was somebody in my room." Mm-hmm. He's like, "Okay, yeah, go back to sleep."
Yeah.
And then Ed Begley Jr. proceeds to go under the blankets, rummaging around.
Yeah, it's like when my dog tries to get comfortable.
He's just like doing spinneroonies in the bed. And he's like, "Oh, look under. Oh, I gotta look over here. Look behind the headboard." And he just spins a couple times, and he just lays down and cries himself to sleep. Yeah. It was so freaking weird.
This movie was so full of moments that just made you feel like it was improv, but it was like improv really weird, you know? It's like...
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, then they start digging a little deeper, because Ed Begley Jr., how many times do I have to say Ed Begley Jr.?
Yeah, I know.
He goes to a sanitarium. Mm-hmm. He's just like walking around, and he like... does an awkward thing where he gets up on the wall to look, and then there's people walking, so he just like turns around.
So he's like hovering.
Yeah,
there,
he's got his arms behind him like reverse. He's just hovering up on the wall. He's like, "Hello, nice day we're having." And he's like, "Oh, I gotta get in there. There's something fishy in there." So he breaks in by just putting on a robe.
Yeah,
and then they think he's one of the patients, and then he. Like, doesn't really find anything significant. Like, he gets all he really finds out is that, the doctor is working with Radu. Yeah, that's all he finds out.
That's all he really finds out.
He's like, "You gotta break me out of here." It's just like, "Guy's getting out." It's like, "Wait, who are you? I told you can't come in here." And he throws him out. I'm like, okay. That was all that came out of that. So, yeah, Dr. Moriarty. Or Malavacqua. That was the doctor. Yeah, okay. God, there were so many goddamn names in this thing that were weird. So, and yeah, Gina Davis's character is named Odette. Mm-hmm. I remember that. Okay. So where do we go after that, Will?
So after that, I think, my God,
well, see, the movie does like this really weird thing where it gets really slow in the middle. Mm-hmm. Because they're trying to build up to something, but like they really stretch it the fuck out. Because I think if they didn't do this like long drawn out middle, it probably wouldn't even have made an hour, this movie. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so after the sanitarium, I'm trying to remember what significant thing happened after that. Because I know like Goldblum's like he just goes out on the date.
Yeah, he goes on a picnic.
A picnic. Yeah, it was right after the sanitarium. Because Bagley's like, "Oh, I gotta get back to that." He's like, "Okay, I'm going on a picnic."
Oh, yeah, he was gonna go back to confront Radu.
Yeah.
And Goldblum's like, "Good, you go do that. I'm going on a picnic." And he's like, "A picnic? Like, what?
And that's when he goes back to confront Radu, but he doesn't catch him in time. Radu just disappears, and then Odette comes out of the bookshelf that he's searching around.
Yep.
Making out with him.
Yeah.
And then she leaves, and he's like, "Oh, come on." Like, I gotta find something. And then we're on Goldblum's date, and he's just getting, like, screwed over left and right.
Yeah. So then, like, we switch back to Ed Begley's in that, like, library, like, trying to find... And he opens the door, and there's Michael Richards' character just on, like, one of those, like, rocking horse things.
Yeah! And that was after, there was another part. That was after, like, he just, like, moves the picture.
Yeah.
And he comes out, he's got, like, those x-ray specs that have, like, the fake eyeballs in it. He's like, come on in here. It's nice. Get in. He just, like, grabs it and starts trying to pull him into the wall. Say, it's good. It's nice. Come in here.
Good in here. Yeah.
you come in now.
Like, what?
Yeah, so that he hears, like, this noise and the secret wall opens and he's just on, like, a little quarter ride in front of, like, a grocery store. He's just riding it.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what are you doing? And then he like closes the door. He thought he does the fake leg thing, but it was his real leg. And he just pulls him right out of the room.
Yeah.
And then, like, one thing we noticed, as he pulls him out of the room, there's a picture of himself in this room that he rides this toy.
It's like, what the?
I swear they just hired Michael Richards and, like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, just do whatever you want. It's what it felt like. It honestly did.
So fucking weird.
So we go to the picnic, and Goldblum's sitting there with his love interest.
Yeah.
And they're there with her daughter, who wanders off.
Yes.
And confronts the Frankenstein monster.
Yep.
And basically he just, like, takes her away.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of weird, but
they had to do something.
Yeah, they had to do something to keep it going. So then Ed Begley shows up and he's just like, Radu got away. I don't know what to do. And then that's when they're looking for the daughter.
Yeah, they're like, we gotta find my daughter.
Yeah.
Ed Begley climbs a tree to get, like, a better view.
Yeah.
And this was, like, his funniest part in the whole thing.
Yeah.
He comes down the tree and literally just climbs down, like, right onto Frankenstein. Right onto the monster. He's just like, he just keeps looking up at him and, like, silently crying.
So the Frankenstein takes the girl, he takes off, and then, like, the Wolfman comes out of the bushes.
Oh yeah, and Jeff Goldblum
this is the first time Jeff Goldblum has seen anything this whole time. Up until this point, everything that was weird or odd, Ed Begley was the only one that saw.
Jeff Goldblum had no interaction.
Yeah.
And then he does, like, the weirdest scream I've ever heard him do in my life. Yeah, and then the Wolfman just, like, kind of runs away.
With Ed Begley on his back.
Yeah, because that's right. Ed Begley's like, I'll save you! And he comes and jumps on his back, and then the Wolfman just takes off.
He runs back to the lab.
Back to the lab. Which, prior to that, you were actually introduced to the doctor and his quirk.
Yeah, we did skip that part.
Yeah. And he has a quirk. Once he passes the threshold into his laboratory, he goes completely nuts.
And it's awesome.
But when he's on the other side, he's just calm and composed and everything all over again. So, like, he gets in there, he's going crazy, he's monologuing about how, they steal my funding, and they laugh at me, and they call me a joke, and as he's just, like, frantically, like, turning knobs and shit. And then he's like, what are you two doing? You gotta clean up. This place looks like a mess. And they're like, okay. And they're like, Radu and his wife, they're like cleaning everything up. He goes to the other side of the, he like goes to the outside of the lab. And he's like, Radu, what are you doing? Why are you guys working so hard? You should be on a break. Yeah, sit down. You want some espresso? Why don't you have some espresso? What the hell are you doing sitting down and not working?
Yeah, the fact that he goes from calm to just completely batshit by walking through that doorway.
He's probably the best character in the whole movie.
It's one of my favorite characters in the entire movie.
But yeah, so that was prior to this. You meet them, and that's basically all that does is it lets you know that, like, he's actually a scientist, and what they were doing is, like, pulling his funding, and it was driving him mad. And when he's in the lab, it reminds him of all that stuff. And that's why he goes nuts. And that these monsters are all things that he had worked on, basically.
Yeah, because we get introduced to a mummy character, too. Yeah.
So, fast forwarding to where we were, Ed Begley Jr. jumps on the werewolf's back. The werewolf takes him back to the lab. They have him restrained. Ed Begley Jr. is restrained because I guess he got knocked out somewhere along the way. And,
or passed out.
Or whatever, yeah. And they're like, what were you doing in the woods, Wolf? It's like talking to the Wolfman guy. He's like, taking a whiz. So, yeah, they have him there, and then Jeff Goldblum just happens to stumble upon the door half ajar that leads down to the lab. Oh, I know. He went back to the psychic. That's what it was.
Yep.
The psychic's like, go on to the bridge and jump off, and there you will find a door at the vines. And he's like, well, there's no water on that bridge. Don't jump off. Walk down onto the bridge. So he goes into the lab.
But before he gets to the lab, Radu and his wife go to find the monster.
Oh, yeah. He's just playing cards with the little girl.
Playing, like, poker with this little girl in a barn. It's
so they
like,
try to chloroform him. There's, like, a whole slapstick thing going on there. Yeah. And then they finally get him back, and they put him in the cell. And that's when Jeff Goldblum comes in, finds everybody.
Yep.
Essentially kind of saves Ed Begley Jr. in a sense, because he's like, he starts this whole thing. He's like messing with the scientist.
The monster gets free.
Yeah, the monster gets free again. Odette's like undoing Ed Begley Jr.'s pants.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just chaos is happening.
Yeah, so the monster gets free because when Goldblum shows up, he's saying, oh, the mom's worried sick. She wants her daughter back. You guys know where the daughter is. I know you have her. And, you know, as it's all getting solved, that's when the monster breaks out, and they, you know, Radu's wife's even like, oh, here she is. She's fine. And he just picks the girl up and takes off. Mm-hmm. And so the doctor's like, oh, I know where he's going. Everybody come with me. I'll explain along the way. So then basically there's this really boring, like, chase scene, sort of.
Yeah.
Like, somehow Frankenstein at just walking pace can get, like, miles ahead of, like, 4 grown men in a car. I don't understand how that works. But, so Frankenstein's, the monster, gets to the village. He's got the girl in his hands. She looks like she's dead, but she's just sleeping. Because she was like, I'm sleeping.
Yeah, she was tired, yeah.
Yeah. Which, the girl's, like, laying, like, you know, head's laying back with her. I was like, that would kill my fucking neck.
I mean, they basically reenacted the scene from the 1931 Frankenstein where he's carrying the drowned girl.
Yeah.
And, like, they played it to a T. Like, it was exactly that scene. And it's just hilarious because, you know, obviously she's not dead. She's just sleeping. And this guy's just like, you know, here she is. She's fine. And then they're like, let's burn him. And they get, like, they pull these torches, like, out of nowhere.
Yeah, they, like, light the torches. They just put one out. And he's just like, he just lights it with his lighter.
So, yeah, they're setting up in town square to burn the monster. And then that's when the rest of the cast show up. And everything gets revealed that, like, he's not really a monster. He's some guy that was in a car accident. And, like, they wouldn't pay for his, you know, funding. They wouldn't pay for his surgeries and stuff to get him fixed up. So the doctor did it on his own.
Yeah.
And, like, all these people that we ran across along the way, turns out they just all have medical conditions.
Yeah.
Like, the Wolfman just has that condition that hair just
grow
grows.
Hair, yeah.
And, the monster was in a car accident. And the mummy character turns out to be just an ugly woman that he did plastic surgery on so that she could...
Gave her bazongas.
Gave us bazonkers.
Bazonkers.
I didn't expect bazonkers.
I didn't expect bazonkers. I'm like, well, you were a woman.
I think that she was a man.
Oh, is that...
And it was like... Because they kind of hinted at that with the headlines at the end. But,
oh, okay, yeah.
But, so there's that, and then they, you know, they realize that, hey, this guy's not really a monster. He was just, you know, this guy who was just in a bad car accident. So, like, you know, and that the mayor and the chief of police this whole time have basically been...
They're just funneling all the money into their...
embezzling, like, the money, like, the government's money, and, like, using it for their, you know, to buy a castle, or to do whatever they want to do.
All this weird shit.
And then it gets revealed, like, Odette's not really a vampire. She's just a girl who has really bad self-esteem issues.
Yeah.
And she got a nose job. Like, that was.
She's like, I'm ugly, my nose. He's like, I get her a nose job. It's like, that's her backstory.
Yeah. It's so weird.
And she's just like a nympho. That's why they made her that's why she looked like a vampire character.
Yeah, she said that was how she could get attention.
Yeah. It was just like sucking dudes off.
Yeah. Like, what?
Yeah, so we have all those come out, and then they play the music, the movie ends. Basically, they're all dancing, and at the wine festival, Ed Begley Jr.'s taking pictures for the newspaper, and for some reason they print like 9 different newspapers versus just the one that they asked for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's supposed to be like the character, like cap-offs at the end, basically. Yeah. But it kind of like already told you stuff that already resolved. It was kind of weird.
It was kind of weird.
But, that was Transylvania 65000. If it sounds confusing, it's only because it is.
Yeah, it's one of those movies that is too fast and too slow at the same time.
Yeah. Because,
like, when the pace is moving in the plot, it's good. It's fun. It's good. It's a cool, weird mystery. But when it's down, it's just awkward.
Yeah, when it's just like Jeff Goldblum going out on a date. Because there's a good solid part of that. Like, it's really dumb. It's very slow. And they did a lot of parts with, like, Radu and his wife that really weren't that funny, or they didn't really add to the characters either that could have been cut out.
I mean, there was that really funny part, like running gag in the film where, like, Ed Begley kept, like, pushing her out a window or down the stairs because he just would, like, burst into the room because he wanted to talk to Radu.
Yeah, but the funny thing with that is that came, like, midway through the movie. Yeah. And that was, like, after the characters were already introduced.
But they ran with it multiple times.
Yeah. It was weird, though.
Yeah. It was like it was written out of order. Like, it really...
Yeah, I feel like it kind of, like, they did it as it went along. Like... They had the basic idea, then they started filming it like, oh, wouldn't it be great if she got hurt every time? Mm. And then, like, Michael Richards shows up, he's like, hey, what if I hid, like, in this wall? Mm. And then he opens it, and I'm riding a little thing. They're like, I love this man. Give him more money. Give him whatever he needs. What if I put a picture of myself in there? One of my headshots?
There are so many characters going on in this that it's just, and I honestly think that the Doctor is my favorite character because...
Oh, yeah, he's fantastic.
Because he just steals every scene he's in.
Oh, yeah. He's chewing that up like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And he does a good job at it, too.
He does, yeah.
Yeah, Doctor's probably the best.
I mean, Michael Richards, like I said, there's moments where he's funny, and then there's moments where it's just like, get him off the screen.
Yeah.
Same with...
It's painful.
Same with Carol Kane. It's like, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's just get her off the screen.
Yeah.
And, you know, and Gina Davis, I think that costume... probably introduced a lot of young boys to women.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of young boys were like, well,
what is happening?
Is this what I had to look forward to later on?
There's some shuffling in my trousers all of a sudden.
Yeah, that costume did not leave anything to the imagination.
No, she was out there in all her glory.
Yeah.
Now, she can't fill it out like Elvira could, but she did okay for herself.
Good. Yeah. Oh, God.
The thing I remember about this movie growing up was the fact that they ran it all the time on Comedy Central. And, like, I just remember, like, back when Comedy Central just switched over from the Comedy Channel, and I think, which one, is it Penn or Teller? The one that actually talks.
Isn't that Penn?
Penn.
Yeah.
Penn. He would do the bumps in between shows and commercial breaks. And he'd be like, today on Comedy Central, Transylvania 65000. I just remember his voice saying that, because they used to do, when I would get home from school, it was like 3:00, 3:30ish, like Monty Python would be on or something like that. And then at 4:00, they would put a movie on. And I just remember they put this movie on several times, like throughout like my young childhood, teenage years, that like I remember watching it, but I never really like could follow the plot. And now as an adult looking back on it now, I understand why as a kid I couldn't follow the plot.
There was no way you were going to be ever able to follow the plot. But still, if you're looking for something else to add to your Halloween viewing and you're looking for maybe something funny that might be a little bit safer for the kids, I mean, there is some adult stuff in it, but they're not going to get it.
No.
This movie's it's worth it, I guess.
It's weird slapstick, like European humor mixed with American humor.
Yeah.
It's odd, but it's odd in a fun way.
Yeah. If you can get it for free, or you can go on eBay and pay $6 like I did for it.
Yeah, I don't think it's super hard to find.
No, it ain't. But I don't hear many people talking about it, and that's kind of why I thought about, well, hey, why don't we do something I don't hear about very, very much often? So that was Transylvania 65000. What are we doing next week?
Well, next week, we're doing Dario Argento's Suspiria, a movie that we have talked about several times on the show in the past. And the build up to it is it's a lot of colors and noises.
Yeah. I think I get to watch Suspiria again for like the 19th time in my life. All right. So yeah, Suspiria next week, everybody. So until then, please subscribe down below, hit that like button, and leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. See you guys.